Ooh, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the Stand Up Guys Podcast, episode 108. I am your host, Incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by my brother from the same mother, Lester Jones.
Hey!
What was that, like your Italian?
Yeah, I was changing it up today.
I thought it was like a bear, like a cartoon bear.
Yay, boo boo!
Give us an Italian bear.
Let's go steal some catalytic converters.
And of course, it wouldn't be our show if we didn't have the ninth wonder, Chocolate Thunder. He's looking for a mate to punch that prostate, the teeth gritting, keeping the shit in, hankering and begging for a spankering and pegging, the phenomenal A.J. Singh.
I heard that 40% of men ejaculate during a prostate check.
I like those numbers.
Can I get one before age 40?
See you next week. This is much cheaper than the girl I used to go to.
My doctor put a restraining order against me.
It's really acting up again, Doc. I think you need to take a look. Man. Well, everybody, we are going to give you a review of She-Hulk episode 2, but we'll save that for the end in case anybody's leery of spoilers.
It stinks.
But what else you guys been watching or doing this week? Anything good?
Man, I was talking about this in the car with Lester. I am just so disappointed in what's happening with HBO Max. I had to go cancel it. Like, I didn't even finish watching Harley Quinn season 3. I was like, man, these guys are going to tank this whole, app, and it's just going downhill. They're making more reality TV.
That part sucked.
Yeah, they're getting rid of like much of the DC stuff. Anything that's fun, almost like young male oriented shows. It seems like they're getting rid of. I don't know. And they're just, from what I understand, they're trying to get like more female viewers and more reality TV. And they spent so much money on this merger, they can't even release more than 2 movies a year. So now they're releasing like Flash and some love story coming up in the next year or so. So I mean, it's a really bad situation. They lost $20 billion trying to manage a $3 billion loss. So they were trying to lose like $3 billion so they could write it off, but they actually ended up losing $20 billion with all these changes going on.
Damn, I didn't hear that part of it. $20 billion?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know what to think, because I heard some of this too, and it's like, well, first of all, it seems like, yeah, one of the things, they're going to bring all the Discovery Plus shows over, which is just a pile of horse shit unless you're really into reality TV, which I fucking can't stand. And then, they're doubling down on that sort of shit, so that's not exciting. And then it seems like they're slashed like animation. It seems like they're trying to cut out the kid audience, which to me doesn't make sense. Why would you want to alienate yourself from such a large market? Mm-hmm. That part just, I think they want to be viewed as like the app you go to for like more like grown-up adult material. But like, why? Why wouldn't you want something for everybody?
And kids buy stuff. They buy those toys and all that stuff. Like, if they're not watching these shows, you're going to get less revenue in those other places too.
I got to say, I was really bummed because like I found out that like they're not going to have that Cape Crusader Batman cartoon that's in development.
Right, I heard about that.
Which from everything, like it sounds like it kind of a spiritual successor to Batman the Animated Series. So like I was really bummed. But like apparently like it's not flat out canceled. Like they are like shopping it around to other distributors. So there's a chance that could live on, as well as some of these other things they like kind of canceled. Like there's a chance they could live on. I think of the things they announced, so that Batman cartoon's really the only one I was really jazzed about. But that seems like nonsense to me as well. Like, because number one, like, adults are going to love that show too.
Yeah.
Like, that's not just, like, they don't want to fully, like, reap the rewards of a Batman show that I'm guessing is going to do good numbers.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Like, these decisions, some of them just puzzle me. And, like, we kind of went over with the Batgirl thing is, like maybe they would have lost money on that movie if they released it theatrically. But even if it wasn't super good, like I think there's a decent chance they would have made their money back.
Yeah, I think so too.
And
Even just the name alone is enough to bring a lot of people in.
And it just creates, I know we've said this before, but it creates bad will amongst the fans. Like, who wants to, like, if you're a fan of this stuff and you know they shot something and it was almost done and they didn't show it, I mean, it sucks as a fan to be like, oh, we don't get to see what these people put their hard work into. And I can't even imagine for those people. It's gotta suck shit.
Yeah, I heard the directors, they talked about it. They said they tried to go back and access the data for the movies, and it was all gone.
I heard that
the
too.
studio had just quickly gotten rid of it.
I mean, they supposedly, like, I don't think it's finalized yet, but most of the, like, Hollywood trades are reporting, like, they found the guy that's going to be, like, their Kevin Feige, like, this master producer guy. And so, like, I don't know, maybe a couple years from now we'll be like, oh, they actually are creating good stuff and this is working. But this transition has been pretty sloppy.
But I mean, so for me, like, my interest has been up until now the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I even got Disney Plus because I like Marvel so much. And I'm trying to get this interest in the DC Cinematic Universe. And I was really hoping HBO Max would be the Disney Plus for these DC shows and movies. And now they're getting rid of them, and maybe they'll send them to another app. But that's the app I'm going to subscribe to in the future, not this one.
I mean, I assume, like, most of the live-action movies they'll probably keep on the app. But the animation stuff, who knows? It seems like they're getting really flaky about the animated stuff. Mm-hmm. And also, who knows about, like, the CW shows.
Right.
Because right now, like, some of the newer CW shows are on there. Some of them are still on Netflix because they still have that contract with Netflix. But, like, who knows? Like, maybe they won't want those with this new direction they're heading in.
I'll bet they don't. I'm willing to bet they don't want those CW shows.
You don't think so? Just because, like, the tone of them's lighter and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, they're just the direction they're going in is, like, completely different from those shows. They're so sitcom, almost not sitcom, but, like, they're cookie cutter Marvel, or not Marvel, DC shows geared towards, like, 20s kids, like 20-year-olds and so 18-year-olds. I think they're trying to target more, like, middle-aged women with these reality shows.
With the reality shows, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you think?
I guess what strikes me, a lot of companies fumble when they acquire a company. And I think them trying to go a different way on DC stuff is maybe good, but they're also moving into something that's really not their wheelhouse because they are just like reality TV and crap and, just random episodes of stuff. So it's not really something, it feels like something they could easily mismanage, but also, I mean, HBO has been a pretty quality company for a long time. I mean, they've really probably been more consistent in their quality than pretty much anybody. I mean, they generally just have pretty good content. But when you acquire a company that has a strong brand like HBO does, it's such a huge mistake to destroy that reputation out of hand. Like, if they were going to buy it, they should have just kept it completely separate and said, this is HBO and we own it, and tried to, put out as much good content and maybe elevate what they could. But it sounds like they're just going to dump all their crap onto the platform because I assume it has a lot of subscribers there. And it sounds like they're maybe focused not in a healthy way.
I almost think when they do combine, like, they should try to keep the Discovery stuff in, like, its own section rather than just spilling it on the front page with everything else. But, I mean, they're going to. And, like,
I think they probably will too, yeah.
For sure they will. Like, I think the HBO Max app, like, right now actually has a lot of good shit on there. But, like, these moves don't excite me. You know what's weird, though, is, like, there's this guy that's a YouTuber and podcaster that I don't listen to him all the time, but, like, periodically. And, like, he's covered, like, the movie business for a long time. And he is, like, a really knowledgeable guy about the business. And, like, he seems to think, like, this David Zaslav guy who's, like, the head of this thing. Like, he says, like, he's thinks he's like he seems to be a fan of this guy, and he says he knows what he's doing, and like, and he says like he agreed with like the Batgirl decision and things like this, and so like I'm like, okay, we'll see, I guess. I like just as a from a fan perspective, like I think some of these moves are very bizarre. Like I was saying, like why would you not want to have a corner of your app for kids? And like I think I even heard like they took a lot of like the Cartoon Network stuff off of there too, and it's like why? Like
No one's really nailing the cartoon stuff right now. I mean, it's like it all seems like it's older. Nobody's putting out good shows.
I mean, that's why I'm excited for that Batman show if it ever comes out anywhere. But yeah, I think the cartoon front, like sometimes I'll be scrolling through Netflix and I'll see like all these animated shows, and but like none of them, I don't actually watch any of them. I see the description and I'm like, man, I don't know. And they all kind of look the same.
Yeah.
I think the last cartoon that I really liked was Adventure Time.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Before that, probably Samurai Jack.
Yeah. So Adventure Time, last time I checked, it was on HBO Max. I don't know if it still is. They might have taken it down, actually. It was a Cartoon Network show.
Yeah, it was up for... Well, it seemed like it was split. It wasn't on... It was on Hulu as well, some of it.
For a while, I think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it is now.
Yeah, I don't really... Just from a complete like business sense, I don't understand that move. It's like, don't you want to bring in as many people's subscribers as possible? And isn't one of those avenues to do that to have like some kids stuff on there? Oh, the other thing is like HBO like owns the rights now to like, well, they have for a few years now, Sesame Street. And like apparently they also took like a ton of those episodes off.
Man, they hate kids. They're like, fuck them kids.
Yeah, who knows these days? They're probably like trans sensitive or something.
Well, like I think a few years ago, like there were some parents that were like, "Oh, Cookie Monster's setting a bad example because he's eating so much sugar," or whatever, you know.
Then he started being like, "Yeah, it's one cookie. You have to eat healthy to get your cookie."
Kale cookies, kids.
After you eat your fruits and vegetables, it's sometimes food.
What have you guys been watching this week?
Not much.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched a couple different, like, random, like, I forget what it's called, the car building show. I watched some.
Oh, you watched Prey. How was that?
Oh, I did watch Prey. Yeah, it was pretty good. And I was kind of surprised because it is very action heavy, which usually draws me out of a movie, but they held it together pretty well.
So you give that a thumbs up?
I give it a thumbs up. I enjoyed it.
I still want to watch it. I don't know. Haven't found the
Oh,
time.
I thought you had seen it. You didn't watch it?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
No, I've wanted to, and it is haven't got around to it still. I don't know. I watched a few things. So I finished up Ted Lasso. I think there's just 2 seasons right now on Apple Plus. I like it. I gotta say, I don't think I like season 2 quite as much as season 1. Like, it's definitely like one of those like dramedy shows, you know. I think it's actually maybe created by the same guy that created Scrubs, but like, I could have used more jokes. I think it maybe leaned at times too far into the drama, and I'm like, maybe a few more jokes, you know. But still, good show. I liked it. And then since I have the Apple Plus, I started watching Severance. Have you guys watched this?
No.
What's it on? Is this Apple?
Apple, yeah.
Oh, no, I haven't watched anything on Apple.
So I'm like 5 episodes in, and I'm liking it. But basically, like the concept of the show is that there's these people that work for like this company that's almost certainly evil. And like, basically, like what the company's doing is top secret. So for these people to work there, they have to go through what's called severance, which is where basically their memories are bifurcated between when they're working and when they're at home. So like if you did this, like you wouldn't know what you do while you're at work. And when you're working, you wouldn't know what your other self outside of work does. And basically like,
wouldn't your work self just be like the most miserable
Yes, and that comes into play in this show. Yeah, so like they're just basically working 24/7 because it's like basically the transition they go through is on that like the elevator like going out, and so yeah, for the people that are working, they basically get in the elevator and then it opens right back up and it's like another work day.
Oh gosh.
But
The
imagine
person on the outside has the good one.
Yeah, can you imagine you just go to work, you get in the elevator, and then it opens back up again, and it's like, oh, your day's done, your paycheck's gonna come and be like, for that person, like, yeah, it sounds great.
0 work, all the pay.
But then, like, the company they work for is like really weird, and like what they have the people doing, and like these different like bizarre departments they have, like. That part's kind of a mystery.
Right.
And like,
hey, you've been sucking dick for 8 hours.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of this Upright Citizens Brigade sketch where this guy thinks he's in space, but really he's been getting fucked in the ass in some basement this whole time for like 2 years. But in his mind, he thinks he's in space. He's an astronaut. And this guy's like, no, I've been fucking you in the ass for 2 years.
I'm gonna have to track down this sketch. It sounds funny.
The Soviet Union fell. We're not going to be able to bring you back down to Earth. Oh, jeez.
But yeah, this show, like, it's trippy, but I'm really liking it quite a bit. And then the only other thing is I started, game-wise, I started playing Horizon Forbidden West, which I'm not super far into, but I'm liking it so far, and I really like the first one, so excited to play more of that.
Been killing a lot of Indians.
No, just...
I haven't learned your lesson yet, have you?
Have to upgrade my guns.
just robot dinosaurs. Oh, man.
Oh, I gotta ask, did you watch more of The Sandman?
Yeah, I finished that season. Plus, they had like a bonus episode. There was a cartoon.
Okay. Did you like it? Was it good?
I did like it. I'd watch some more of it.
Okay.
Oh, the bonus one was animated?
Yeah, it was Dream of 1,000 Cats or something.
I think, like, I didn't read, like, a ton of The Sandman, but I think that was one of the issues I read.
Yeah, the premise was that, like, there was a time when people were small and cats were huge and they basically ruled over us. But then the humans got together and started dreaming and they dreamt of a world where they were in control. And then the cats were... Well, there was a cat trying to talk the other cats into doing it, but at the end they were like, I can't imagine anyone ever getting 1,000 cats to cooperate.
Well, should we do a round of stories before we get into She-Hulk?
I got one thing.
It better be good. All right. Well, anyone who hasn't listened, basically we're going to go around the table. Everybody's going to bring a topic of conversation up to the table, usually some sort of weird news story, and then we'll see if we can't make something funny and or entertaining out of it. And as tradition dictates, we usually start with AJ. So, AJ, what do you got for us?
All right. I just want to read the title of one story before I read the next story. Basically, I think I have it here. This guy, his plane crashed, and let me see where it says it. Gosh, I have it.
Better be a good pun title.
Basically, this plane crashed, and there was a lifeguard competition happening at the same time as when this plane crashed. Oh, here it is. Plane crashes near lifeguarding competition, pilot rescued. So, I mean...
It'd be funnier if we died.
Oh, well, yeah, that'd be...
Like, these lifeguards all suck.
Yeah.
It would be funny if you're like dying and then there's like all these lifeguards and you just turn out they're like filming Baywatch. Like, no, they're all idiots.
None of us can swim.
All right, that was the funny topic, I thought. And this one I thought was really weird. Man lives on cruise ships for more than 20 years, can no longer walk straight on land. A man who has lived on cruise ships for more than 20 years can no longer walk straight on land. Martin Salcedo, known in the cruise community as Super Mario, has been moving between Royal Caribbean ships for more than 2 decades, claiming he is the happiest guy in the world. He used to work in finance for a multinational corporation, but he was sacked at age 47 and began a new life at sea. He's now spent more than 9,000 nights on cruise ships, and he said the lifestyle never gets old. It's just his rare returns to land, which can be tricky. He says he lost his land legs. I've lost my land legs, and when I'm swaying...
There's a picture of him drinking.
I know. So when I'm swaying so much, I can't walk in a straight line.
Yeah, he's just a big drunk.
Yeah, he's just an alcoholic. It's just easy to play it off on a ship.
Yeah. Falling down on a ship, nobody knows you're drunk.
Oh, these waves.
When he was like drunk on the ship and the ship was like swaying, it like evened him out.
In perfect balance.
He's like, what was that, Mr. Magoo or whatever? Like, somehow it works out for him. Booking his cruises 2 years. To live his lifestyle, he budgets around $60,000 to $70,000 per year. Booking his cruises 2 years in advance and opting for basic cabins while also bringing in funds by managing investment portfolios for private clients from on board the ships. Meanwhile, on port days, when most passengers get off for excursions, he usually stays put on the ship, only stepping on land for around 15 days. It's not a holiday for Mario. It's life. People come here for vacation. I don't. I come here to live my life. He told New York Times, which joined him on board a cruise in 2017 to make a short documentary about his life. He continued, adopting cruise ship life is simply escaping from reality. You're basically exiting the world as you know it on land and saying, I don't want to be a part of that anymore. While for some, this may be this way of life may sound like hell, for Mario it's perfection. He explained, I don't have to take out the garbage, I don't have to clean, I don't have to do laundry. I've eliminated all those non-value activities and have all the time in the world to enjoy what I like to do. Of course, Mario's world fell apart when COVID hit, and he was forced to live on land like the rest of us. It seems this experience has only reaffirmed his commitment to the cruise life. He told All Things Cruise last November, I didn't cruise for 15 months. It was miserable not knowing when ships would cruise again. My first cruise back was July 2nd this year on the Freedom of the Seas, perfect name, Freedom. I mean, this doesn't make sense to me. Cruise ships are miserable. They're disgusting. They're unsanitary. The food is kept in the worst condition. Like, this is just nasty. And this guy chose to live like that for 20 years and he's happy? He's just so lazy he doesn't want to do his laundry or wash dishes.
That's not too bad.
There's actually, on certain cruise ships, there's like these really like luxury like rooms that you can purchase, but they're like crazy expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But then you have the option of like, anytime you want to go on that ship,
It's open.
it's open. So I assume like there's people who must love that life. Even rich people that don't have to live that way. Like some of them must love that life.
I've met at least a couple people on cruises that enjoyed them.
Yeah, I mean, you hear those horror stories about like
Where everybody gets sick and stuff.
diarrhea, food poisoning, but like, of course, like if there is some food with like food poisoning, like everybody's gonna get it. But yeah, I feel like I've heard stories from a lot of people that enjoyed cruises, so it's a mixed bag, I think.
I am so scared of like large bodies of water, first off. And then I've heard horror stories about people falling off these cruise ships. And they fall off in the stupidest ways too. Like it doesn't have to be anything that makes sense. They just, the turbulence knocked them over the side and they fell off. And like they almost always end up in the propeller. So you can't even swim away.
Because it like sucks you in.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, so I mean, and people commit crimes on those ships. They do all kinds of stuff, and nobody can do anything about it because there's no police to actually like arrest anybody or stop them from doing it.
I'm the captain now.
Yeah. There's no law out there. I just don't get it, man.
It's international waters.
Yeah. This guy must have had good luck or something. I don't know.
All right. Ready?
Okay.
New product hits the market. It's called Baby Pod. What do you think it is?
Oh, I thought you were going to go with those truck nuts for your feet that you texted
Oh,
me
no,
earlier.
no. That was just a throwaway. But yeah, there are some Crocs out there with chuck nuts on them if anyone's looking.
See, I need something like business casual. I can't do Crocs. I got to wear them to work.
You can get a pair of cowboy boots with like what's that called? The little thing that spins.
Spur?
Yeah, you're a spur, but you just got some chuck nuts banging back there.
So what's this thing called?
Baby pod.
Baby pod.
You think it is?
It sounds like a little pod you put your baby in.
It does sound like that.
All right. We're thinking more like what's the Apple iPod? So there's a little speaker about this big, and while you're pregnant, you shove it up your vagina and crank up the tunes. Now, I thought this was going to be like a Bluetooth or something, right? But it's not. You plug it into your phone. There's a Y connector, so once the speaker's connected with a wire, you shove that one up there, and then you got an option for another wire that you can listen to.
Well, you got to have the wire to fish it back out.
Yeah, it would have needed something. I just wasn't expecting you to be connected to your phone, I guess. I was expecting you to be able to walk down the street or something. People would be like, do you hear something?
Well, I've heard of like people like pregnant women like putting a speaker like on their stomach or
Right.
But yeah, this is another step, like really rocking that womb.
Yeah.
I don't know what effect that has on a child. It could be just completely annoying the whole time.
I know.
Get one of those Bose speakers, really give him the bass.
He's annoying. It's like a club in there.
Gonna have a bunch of DJs in the future.
He's born and you're like, the doctor's just like, you fucked him up. You ruined this baby.
He's healthy, but he's got shitty taste in music.
Yeah, he's just been sitting in there listening to Vanilla Ice all day.
He's like, I don't need to hear about wet ass pussy. That's my life. Hey, on short occasion, that wasn't bad.
It wasn't good. Damn.
We might have to circle back.
Oh, I didn't.
There's some jokes in there somewhere.
I didn't. I think I might have told this to Ajay. I didn't tell it to you. So yesterday, I'm out doing my little patrol. I walk around the corner. Guess what I saw?
Some fucking.
A completely naked old woman. It's like, why? And have you ever just seen something and like your brain sees it and your brain's just like, this isn't right. This isn't real.
This can't be, can it? It is.
And you're just like looking and you keep looking and you're like, God damn it. It is real.
And in your case, you keep looking and you keep looking.
Well, I had to like call it in and then like, I was like, I don't want to have to approach this person and like make them leave the property, But thankfully she left. And the dumb part is like, she was packing around a bag of clothes. So she goes over to like the bus stop, gets dressed and leaves on the bus. I was like, what the fuck?
Now, I gotta ask, how was it? Was it like a Helen Mirren old lady, or was it like
it was just
the old lady from Titanic?
Just shriveled, thin old lady.
Ugh.
She could be like a typical person from Portland who's like 40 but looks 80 because they've been on drugs their whole life.
That's true, man.
There could have been some drug-related issues in there.
Yeah, she might have been younger than you think. That's true, man. Some people that do drugs, fuck, it ages them.
Yeah. Yeah, certain drugs, I don't know. It just sucks the life out of you.
Well, I got another sexy story for you. So, like, we had some of those stories in the past of these damn macaque monkeys, like just terrorizing India and Japan.
Is it pronounced macaque?
I think it is.
I thought it was macaque.
I'm choosing to pronounce it macaque because it's funnier.
It sounds like a Scottish lord.
But I think there's some good news. I think these macaques finally found something that's going to calm them down. Dirty monkey business. Macaques learn to use stones as sex toys. Man.
They're evolving.
Those monkeys are up
They've
to
been paying too much attention to it like humans.
Those monkeys are up to something. There have been strangely many stories popping up lately about macaques. In Japan, the authorities recently executed a macaque that had been attacking people. But in Indonesia, the macaques are, well, doing something completely different. There's no tactful way to put this, so we'll just be blunt. The macaques are masturbating with sex toys. In a recent study published in the journal Ethology, researchers observed groups of long-tailed macaques in Bali's sacred monkey forest. They noticed that the monkeys were using stones on their genitals. Puzzled by the behavior, the scientists tried to figure out if there was some kind of deeper reason for it. But as it turns out, the most likely explanation is that it just makes the monkeys feel good. On one hand, it's common knowledge that some monkeys can use primitive tools. On the other, we didn't really expect them to. Oh, who are we kidding? Our ancestors probably did the exact same thing as soon as they learned to pick up a stone.
They're entering the Stone Age.
Although, that's like the worst thing to fuck with.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it'd be your first choice.
But let's take a step back.
Could be like that guy last week and just fuck a cat.
You'd think they would go with like an animal before they go with a stone. But let's take
Romancing the stone.
Oh, that might be a good title. But let's take a step back and establish what the macaques are actually doing with the stones. By the way, we will talk about monkey genitalia, so you might want to stop reading here if that makes you uncomfortable. What?
Not at
These
all.
writers, man. If we're in this far, we're up for it. Still with us? All right, let's get dirty. So the researchers gathered their data, mostly in the form of video between 2016 and 2019. Oh, good video.
Get my close-up lens.
They observed many instances of monkeys playing with stones of various sizes. Sometimes the activity was clearly just play or mental stimulation. The macaques would gather piles of stones, clack them together, throw them around, stick them in their mouths, and whatever other things you'd expect them to do with a bunch of rocks. But then there was the other behavior. The researchers noticed that both the male and female macaques had a habit of rubbing or tapping stones on their genitals. With the male monkeys, it was pretty obvious what was going on. According to the study, the male macaques would rub their dongs with stones more often and for a longer time if they also had an erection. Clearly, they were spanking the monkey. But with their females, things weren't quite so clear-cut. For females, it's a little bit harder because we don't really have an easy signifier of arousal. Camilla Senni, the study's lead author and PhD candidate at the University of Lethbridge, Canada, told Vice. However, the females were weirdly picky about which stones received the honor of caressing their lady parts. Oh, let me guess, just the big ones. They seem to prefer stones with a grainy texture or ones with a prominent edge. What does it mean? Like a sharp edge?
Yeah, right.
Ugh. You can probably imagine why that might be. Naughty. Creativity from boredom is. It's not unusual to see macaques using or playing with stones. For example, Japanese macaques do it very commonly, as do the ones in Bali. Masturbation isn't a rare phenomenon either. Many primates do it, from macaques to chimpanzees, and yes, Homo sapiens like you and me. But seeing macaques put two and two together and use stone tools for masturbation is a rare sight to behold. How could they have learned this behavior? They learned it from watching you.
I learned it from you, Dad.
One explanation could be that the macaques are simply so bored that they discovered sex toys. Senni's team and other researchers have noticed that macaques living near humans are more likely to play with stones. The reason for that is that they can get plenty of food both from visiting tourists and stealing it from human settlements. With the abundance of food, the monkeys won't have to be constantly looking for their next meal. Consequently, they have many hours in the day that they don't really need to do anything. I think we can probably confidently say that the free time they have as a result of provisioning is a big explanation for playing with stones, said Senni. While messing around with the stones, one macaque probably figured out that rubbing them on their genitals feels kind of nice. Throw in some monkey see, monkey do, and soon the whole group knows about the joy of sex toys. It's hard to give a very solid explanation, but it really seems that they do it because it feels good. There is some sort of tactile stimulation from the contact of these stones with their genitals, and it feels good, and there's no reason to stop, summarized Senny. It started with masturbation, all right, so we've learned that macaques have figured out what sex toys are. What do we do with this revelation? Well, funny as the thought of a monkey using a stone dildo is, the observation could have significant scientific merit. It may lead to a better understanding of how tool use develops in primates. It was using tools that helped our predecessors conquer the planet.
It'd be really handy if this was like a pointy, like a spear. Oh, yeah, that's the stuff.
They like learn to like shape them. And as we joked in the beginning, it's possible that they too once went from stuffing stones in their mouths to sticking them into other orifices on their way to discover more advanced technology. Our results support the view that tool use evolves in stages from initial non-functional behaviors such as object play through affordance learning, the researcher noted in the study. In other words, the macaques have learned to use stones for a purpose. Who knows? Rubbing a rock on its genitals might be the first step on the road that leads the macaque to inventing a monkey wrench.
I want to see the anthropologist who writes that letter. Peer reviewed.
I want to see these videos like undercut with that. Who's that like Planet Earth narrator that with the British voice?
Attenborough.
Yeah, let's get Attenborough to narrate these monkeys fucking boning off the rocks.
Here we see the monkey choosing a pebble. Notice its grainy texture and sharp edge.
Yeah.
Like, there was a point in that article where they said they must have discovered this when they were bored. I don't think so. I think that's probably on the top of their mind. Like humans, all humans think about is sex most of the time.
That's true. And like, yeah, we're like 99% like, apes. So
Yeah.
She-Hulk.
Let's do it.
Well, I was just thinking like, they also said like these monkeys, they don't have to like search for food so much, so they think about fucking more.
Wow.
But like in the caveman days when they did have to spend a large portion of their day like searching for food, like they still were fucking a lot.
I'm sure they procrastinated by fucking. We'll get food. Just
All right, guys, should we now review She-Hulk?
She-Hulk.
Aw.
Short episode.
It was a short episode. She-Hulk, episode 2, entitled Superhuman Law. We started out with the news reports kind of, recapping what happened at the end of the first episode with Jennifer hulking out in the courtroom. And the news dubs her She-Hulk. Because, like, one of the guys was like, it was like a chick Hulk. And the reporter was like, you mean like a She-Hulk?
Yeah. And then it turned into a thing.
This reporter calls him the Super Mario Brothers.
Nobody's going to get that.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
Then you haven't watched one of the best cinematic classics in history. So, like, then, like, she's in her, like, at work, and, like, there's a group of people, like, chanting, like, for She-Hulk outside. So, like, she goes out and greets them. And then she, like, ends up going to a bar with her friend. They start talking actually about the name, and she like talks about how she doesn't like the name and how it's like derivative of the Hulk, and like they talk about how like even that's not a good name.
Yeah. Well, she goes into the bar as She-Hulk.
Yeah. There's like another like male lawyer that comes up to her and like accuses her of like doing this for like publicity, like as a publicity stunt.
I couldn't quite hear what you're saying. But, like, she's blatantly, like, much taller than all of them, I guess. So,
yeah, and he says something about, like, how do you get those powers? Oh, it's nepotism from your cousin or whatever. Like,
okay.
Yeah, it was a weird line. So, like, as She-Hulk, like, she's drinking a bunch of alcohol. And like as we established in episode 1, like I guess when she's the Hulk, like her metabolism is so fast that like she doesn't get drunk.
Right.
But then like her boss comes in and he's like, I need to talk to you. And he's like, can you please, transform into Jennifer, your regular self. So she shrinks down, but then like she instantly like falls to the ground. And like, so apparently like the alcohol all hits her at once. Is that what you guys got out of that?
Cause I guess it was like getting to her liver.
Cause she mentioned like, her metabolism changed in like an instant or something.
Mm.
So technically like she could kill herself very easy with alcohol poisoning if she wasn't careful, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was a little bit weird.
It was a little random.
But basically, like her boss basically tells her, like, "Hey, you did the right thing in there, like saving the people or whatever, and stopping the bad guy. But basically, we have to fire you because A, like they declared a mistrial and we lost the case, and like B, now you're just a liability to the law firm." Which, do you think she could have sued them for that? Ironically.
Yeah, probably.
So then we get this whole like montage.
Because even if you get like a mistrial, don't you have to? Can't they still take you to trial? They just get like a new jury and stuff.
I mean, that's what I thought. Is like when they declare mistrial, it's not just like, oh, you win. It's like, oh no, now we're just gonna get a different trial with different jurors, and you get another chance, but. So Jen then goes to a family dinner, and I wrote her family is cartoonishly insufferable. Like it's just like
I didn't really get too much out of them.
Not really. Like some of them are like trying to. Oh, like, and I wrote this down somewhere. Like, one of them, like, talks about her hair. And I was curious about that. Why, when she changes into She-Hulk, does her hair go from curly to straight?
I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
I think also, like, somehow the greenness makes her look less ethnic. I don't know why. I feel like
I don't know what her ethnicity is.
I feel more like she's a white woman with green paint on. When she's She-Hulk.
Green face.
Yeah, green face.
Oh, I wrote her perfect stranger's dad then makes her feel better. Now, I'm not sure, but I think her dad is like the guy from Perfect Strangers that's not Balky.
Yeah, Larry.
Okay. I didn't look it up, but I was like...
I thought he looked vaguely familiar, but I did not put that together.
I was like, I didn't look it up, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's him, and I want to believe it's him.
Yeah, good memory.
So then she goes to another bar, or maybe the same bar, I don't know. And this guy named Mr. Holloway approaches her and offers her a job. And he was the lawyer on the other side of the case from episode 1. And he's like, basically says like, before we got the mistrial, like you were winning that case, and like that's hard to do against us. So he was like impressed by her.
That's like you're giving someone a compliment, but you also compliment yourself.
Yeah, basically. She accepts the job, but she says she gets to choose her own paralegal, and he's like he doesn't care. So she, of course, hires her friend, who I think's name is Nikki, I think. So anyway, she goes there, and then he drops it on her that they're creating a new division that's designed just to basically represent people with superhuman abilities. Which, what did you guys think of this? Like, do you think this is something that would really happen in a world with, like, superpowered people? Like, they would have their own justice system?
I mean, that's a huge... just like publicity. I think the publicity would be huge. Yeah,
I think the government would definitely like want to use those people, so they'd probably try to protect them. And
I mean, think of all the like skyscrapers Superman knocked down. He's gonna need some representation.
I want like those like were you involved in an auto accident or whatever? Call Galinto and Stearns or whatever, one of those cheesy ones. But I want one of those for like Super Howard. Like, did you knock down 13 skyscrapers and kill 10 million people?
No.
Call Galindo and Stearns.
I thought you were going to be the other way, like the collateral damage people.
Oh, yeah, that could
Did the Hulk throw your car 13 blocks and miss?
So yeah, he's like, yeah, we want you to be the head of this, and he's like, so we want you to actually be She-Hulk, and he actually asks if she can change into She-Hulk, and so we kind of get this thing where she, in this episode, breaks the fourth wall just to basically tell us that like she doesn't really like that she has to do this or whatever, she's uneasy about it. Her and her friend are like enjoying like her new office with the good view and like
she gets the big corner office, but she has to walk past there's all these little like men are assholes or whatever. Like there's a boardroom of old men like cheering and clapping or something and shaking hands. She's like, oh.
She did break the fourth wall and say some snide comment about that.
And then there's like some guy comes up and gives her like a gift basket. And he's like, here's the map to the toilet.
I was just going to mention this.
What the fuck is this?
I was just going to mention this. So yeah, this guy, and I had the subtitles on. His name is Pug, by the way.
A pug?
Pug. Pug greets her with a basket and a pooping map, I wrote. Which, who does that? Like, yeah, this guy's like good looking, but like, who would hit on a woman and be like, that's the first thing they lead with is like,
he wasn't like, I'll just let her figure. We got your poop man.
She was ecstatic. She was happy to have it. Like, oh.
That's not how
I thought she was like all happy and everything. She's like, oh, poop map. How'd she look?
I don't know. If she said that, I was sarcastic.
No, she didn't say that. She didn't say that.
I feel like if a new woman like started where I work, and the first thing I did was come up to her and be like, hey, like, here's a basket with fucking apples in it. And hey, if you want to take a shit, here's a map for it.
Like, oh, like somebody is so condescending they had to draw a map to the toilet.
And that person would automatically be like associated with poop in your mind from that point forward.
Yeah. Do you think her and Pug are going to have a romance in this show?
They did kind of put him off on like a bad start. Like, hey, go give her this gift basket. She's going to want that map.
There's going to be a scene like where she's taking a shit and she breaks the fourth wall and she's like, this really is a good place to shit.
or she's going to be like, I really need to take a shit. Where's that gift basket?
Where's that map?
That's like the big thing. You know how they show like
and then it just goes out onto like a balcony and the door locks behind her.
What's that one?
It'd be funny if the map led somewhere like she wasn't supposed to be. What were you going to say?
I can't even think of the name. Like, there's something in movies which, like, when they show like a gun, they come back to it, and they basically say like, okay, this gun's going to be important later on in the show.
Oh yeah, it's like a Star Trek thing, like Chekhov's gun or whatever.
Yeah. So maybe that's what they're doing with this bathroom map. Maybe it's Chekhov's gun. For
we
the
need to
big
pause because it is called Chekhov's gun, and it is not related to Star Trek.
Oh, it's not. I thought it was a Star Trek thing.
No, there was an author named Chekhov.
Oh.
And he says you don't hang a gun on the wall unless you intend to use it.
Oh, I guess the only context I ever heard Chekhov was Star Trek, and so I was like, oh, it's
like,
probably.
Put these hands together.
I thought, well, I haven't seen most Star Trek shit, so I figured it was like a Star Trek thing.
It must have been Chekhov by his bed.
Couldn't you see that happen? I'm going to write a Star Trek thing now with Chekhov as a gun.
The gun, Captain. Yeah. You have to bring it back.
You don't hang a gun on the wall unless you intend to use it.
Okay, so now we find out, like, Mr. Holloway tells Jen that her first case is going to be defending Emil Blonsky, a.k.a. Abomination. She, of course, doesn't want to represent him because way back in The Incredible Hulk, he fought and like tried to kill Bruce.
So pause for just a second. So like in the comics, somehow he injects Bruce's blood into himself.
Honestly, like
And
I
that's
don't
what
even
turns him-
remember in the movie how it happened.
Because basically Abomination's like this big green thing he turns into. It's not quite a Hulk, but it's like
Well,
in
the Abomination
neighborhood.
isn't green though. Like, isn't he white?
It might be different versions. But like that's what I was kind of asking you guys, because you've read more comics than I have.
Hulk's never a character I've gravitated towards, so I've never read much Hulk. But yeah, he somehow gets a version of the serum,
Okay.
and it makes him big.
Well, there's another thing too, because before, well, we're about to get there, right? Where she decides to go interview him at the Supermax prison.
Yeah, that's basically the next thing. The only thing before there is, she talks about how it'd be a conflict of interest, and the guy's like, "Oh, it's not a problem. We had him sign this conflict waiver."
Right. So anyway, she goes there to interview him, and basically he's in one of these big acrylic cages. So it's basically looks like Loki when he was trapped in one of those on a flying airship.
Oh yeah, in the first Avengers movie, yeah.
But and there were some really shitty jokes about Hannibal Lecter or something.
Right.
I don't know. It didn't work, whatever it was. But I'm forgetting what point I was trying to get to now. She was going in to interview him. And I don't know. I'm blanking out.
Well, basically,
I'm pulling a Biden here.
well, maybe you'll remember it. Basically, he kind of talks about how like his version is like, number one, like he's a different guy than who he used to be, and like number two, he was basically just following the government's orders.
Right. So he's Russian, but he was
Like grew up in England. Yeah.
But he was given like a serum like Captain America or something. So he was like a super soldier.
Yeah, he mentioned like he thought he was going to be like the next Captain America. Or
Okay,
something like
right.
that. And I think, yeah, God, again, it's been so long since I watched that Hulk movie, but like, yeah, he was like a soldier or something, and I think the government did end up like giving him the serum that turned him into Abomination. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, he has this whole thing where he's like, "Yeah, I'm a changed man, and now I've like apologized to the people that wronged me and written haikus for all of them and all this kind of stuff." So Jen calls Bruce to see if he's okay with her taking the case, and he is, but then this part I was like, "What the fuck?" So we find out that Bruce is aboard that Sicarian spaceship,
Yeah.
from episode 1, and I remember us talking like last week. We're like, "Oh,
Where did they go? Yeah.
We're like, the most interesting part of this was like the whole Sicarian spaceship thing and what's going to happen with this." Now it just seems like this is a throwaway thing to where they're like, "Oh, well, this will be a different series or something." Like this just seems like if.
Yeah, Hulk's off on a new adventure.
It seemed like the thing that was interesting the most is now just going to be like in the future in a different show.
Hulk, I too thought he was going to be an important part, and he's gone.
I mean, they might bring him back.
So Udge and I talked about this briefly, but apparently, like in the comics, at some point, Hulk had a child
Yeah.
on Sakaar. So we're kind of wondering if could he be like going back there to a son?
Yeah, because we don't like those years, like the Thor Ragnarok, and like he was in space for a while.
Right. It seemed like he was in a cell with the Grand Master or whatever, pretty much.
Yeah, it does seem like there was
But,
like a period of time,
Could he still have?
but like I don't understand. Like I don't exactly know the timeline. I don't know if he would have been there long enough to have a son or have I don't know.
Yeah, he was there for 2 years.
It seemed like he'd
2
been
years.
there for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder like if maybe they eventually will do kind of like a Hulk in space series or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And there's like other versions of Hulk out there, right? I heard there's like a God Hulk or something.
Yeah, there are other Hulks. There's like World War Hulk, and then there's like
Well, World War Hulk was, I forget, like in the comics, so like at one point, like the event, like I think Hulk does something, causes too much damage, so the Avengers basically send him into space. And then there's the storyline Planet Hulk, where I think that's where he has the son, and he kind of lives in outer space for a while, and then eventually he comes back to Earth, and that's the World War Hulk storyline where like then he like fights the Avengers or whatever because he's pissed for him like vanishing him into space or whatever. I never, I think I read World War Hulk, but I never read Planet Hulk, but it's been forever.
Yeah, like the Illuminati, they sent him into space with like a ship, and then he has this whole family and life on Sakaar, and then something happens to the ship, and because of that, something happens to his wife on that planet because the ship exploded basically, and he thinks that the Illuminati are the reason behind that happening, so he goes back to Earth and then starts just beating the hell out of them.
Is his son in the comics alive?
Yeah, Sakaar, or his name is Scar.
Scar. Let's see.
So yeah, they were interviewing him, and then he kind of made himself look like maybe he's a, kind of possibly an empathic character, but like you can't really tell which side he's going to land on. That's how I felt.
Which character?
The Abomination character. Like, is he like,
like, is he just full of shit?
like, has he turned a leaf? Is like his story true? Like, his viewpoint is valid, where he did think he was like the hero, and he's just kind of been cast in a weird role.
Yeah, I guess. Like, he does seem like he might be deceptive.
Right, but at the same time, it does seem like maybe he's lying.
Right. But anyway, Jen takes the case, and then immediately the news comes on, and it shows Abomination fighting in the Fight Club from Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Now, my question is, because I couldn't tell if it was like, oh, like he's in prison right now, but they just discovered this footage, so they know at times he's snuck out and did this fighting ring, or if this is like current right now, like he's out of prison and he's in the fight ring.
Well, I thought it was current, but that also raises some weird questions.
I thought it was the past.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
So it's just like bad.
But it seems like Wong is the one getting him out, right? Because he has the sling ring.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. If he escaped from prison, Wong had to let him out. But like in Shang-Chi, it seemed like they'd had a relationship, like kind of like a working relationship.
Yeah, it seems like there would have to be a backstory there. Because why would Wong just randomly be like, oh, I'm going to break this bad guy out of prison
so we can fight in a cage,
so we can do fake fights and get money,
yeah, I don't know how that's going to patch together.
So maybe, I mean, Wong's going to be in the show at some point, so maybe they will have that backstory of how those two got together.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically that's how it ends. And then, did you guys watch the little after credits stinger?
Oh yeah, you mean where
Perfect.
She fights Glass Ceiling Man and finally breaks through because she has these newfound manly powers.
Well, I don't know if she broke the glass ceiling because really it was just Perfect Stranger's dad forcing her to do physical labor.
Oh yeah, carrying in the water.
Yeah, and stuff. All that kind of stuff.
OJ knows that role, carrying in the water.
Oh yeah,
the 5-gallon jugs.
Yeah, know that life. My dad made me do that too.
You got some quads going up all the stairs.
Quads, man. You got the calves, man.
Got calves. I don't know why. Some people get calves.
No, you're being a bit sarcastic about that. But do you think that's still a thing with like these female superhero properties where they're still maybe a bit ham-fisted and inelegant about telling, not showing, when it comes to like portraying female heroes as like badass and like can do all the things the men can do?
Well, I mean, they also have much stuff like it's kind of like 80s-ish, but I think there is a little bit of that, but it's also, you have female writers, so some of them are probably bringing some real world experience into this, even if it's maybe, a little bit weird or something. What I feel kind of weird about is I feel like it kind of takes away potential story or character arc, because you basically have to come across and say, the women's infallible, and all these guys are wrong. So they're subtle bad guys, but it's also like it's not enough to create a big enough conflict to be interesting. I don't know.
I get what you mean. Like, even in like episode 1, where like she's at the bar, and like there's the guys like catcalling her. They're very on the nose. Like,
Right.
there's no gray.
Right.
know?
And I'm just kind of like, is every time she ever interacts with a male, has to be like a condescending thing? Like, do I really have to sit through that every time? I mean, it's too much. It's like, I don't like watching it.
I thought the first Wonder Woman movie did a very good job of not beating you over the head and like showing you that she's powerful. Just like that visual of like her in the no man's land with her shield, like blocking the bullets. And like, I thought it did a very good job of not like being really like ham-fisted about it. And then
that's another thing. If you are like superpowered, like, you have no reason to give a shit what anybody thinks.
And then there's, like the Captain Marvel movie, which is a movie I liked, and I like her and everything. But there was definitely like kind of eye-rolling moments in that movie too, where I'm like, they're trying too hard.
Right, you're like the most powerful being in the universe. It's like, okay. I don't know. Why are we...
So yeah, I kind of hope in the future, like I'm all for having the more female superheroes, but I do think they need to be a little more subtle in that storytelling.
Well, I think it can even work if you just pick out like 1 or 2 people and make them pieces of shit. But it's like, like every single person is a piece of shit in this world. Here's your poop, man. I'm sorry.
But also, like, the character arc you're saying, like, yeah, maybe if one of these, characters start off to where maybe, like, they're taking a little more shit from men or something, and then, like, over time, like, they become more assertive. I don't know.
Well,
that wouldn't have to apply to every female character, but
isn't mousy, although she could have been, but you do kind of see, like, a transition, I feel like, of personality. Like, as She-Hulk, she does seem more confident, which is supposed to be the same person, so I don't know. I feel a little bit weird.
I feel like sometimes the writing of these shows feels like too defensive, like they almost assume the people watching are shitty. And I'm like, no, like I get women are powerful, and like you don't need to like be quite as defensive as you're being. Like we get it. Like,
yeah,
you can tone that down a bit. You don't have,
But yeah, it did feel like a conscious decision to tackle those things. But I don't know. It is just kind of very, yeah, I guess you might say ham-fisted.
Yeah, just maybe a little on the nose at points, but
I'm a little more open to it. I've heard like women on TikTok and stuff, and they talk about how like, they go through that stuff all the time where like men are like saying these things to them and like talking to them a certain way. So, I mean, I'm not in their shoes. Maybe they go through it a lot more than we think, and it really is that much of a hassle. Like, they really deal with that negativity all the time.
Yeah, it could be. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know. You watch some of these shows, and you sometimes it feels like you're being preached to in a way you don't need to be.
I think that's like the second rule of writing is don't be preachy. And I think maybe that's what it is. Slightly preachy. I mean, it's not super over the top, but it's present.
Right. So, I mean, I think as we get more of these shows centered around female superheroes, I'm hoping that levels out a little bit. And
there's other like I'd rather.
Right, there's other stories to tell.
Story. There's better stories to tell, I think.
And I guess some female writers would probably say, well, that's the way men treat us is an ever-present part of our life, so maybe it should always be in these stories to an extent.
But it's boring.
It gets monotonous if it's too there all the time.
Like I said, well, if you had like one boss character who was like an asshole and masochistic, I feel that's maybe more of a representation because there are like a handful of shitheads anywhere.
I did like that her boss that like fired her still seemed like a good guy.
Mhm.
Like
The guy who hired her though is more like advantageous.
Yeah, he seems like
Right.
he's just using.
He's like,
her.
we're gonna cash in on this.
Yeah.
right.
The other guy did seem stupid for like letting her go though. So
Well, he seemed like he didn't have a choice though.
maybe.
Well, he said like the DA's office was having issues with it or something. There was some line there to
Yeah,
justify.
like it was a
Well,
conflict of
we'll just say
interest.
fuck it. You're off that case. We'll give you, we've got 400 rape cases sitting over here. You can work on those.
But really, like, she has the ability to transform at will. And it's like, how many cases do they think they're going to get where a fucking supervillain Kool-Aid man's through the wall? Like, I think that would be a rare occurrence. And if it does, like, you want a She-Hulk there to...
Wait, that can't be why they want her. Like just because she can like stop supervillains from like doing stuff.
Well, I think this new firm wants her because, like, they specifically have this superhuman division, so it doesn't matter if she's She-Hulk. And the fact that she's a lawyer it just is, like, a perfect fit.
Mhm.
But as far as, like, the old firm that fired her, I'm like, I'm not sure that makes sense because, like, the chances of that happening again like it did in episode 1 are very slim.
Yeah.
And besides that, like, imagine how much money they could drum up if they used her as She-Hulk in like their legal ads.
Yeah, it was just stupid.
So yeah, I think you're right. I don't think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, even as a company mascot, she would probably be like
She'd be awesome.
valuable.
Yeah, like even if they're like, honestly, like if they're like, okay, you can't lawyer anymore, but we're gonna pay you more just to be our fucking like spokesperson.
But
Like-
she wouldn't be happy with that.
Yeah,
Well, maybe not.
unfulfilling.
But she'd be rich.
law.
She'd be rich.
Got to bring justice to the land.
I don't think I like this episode overall as much as episode 1, but yeah, it'd be close, I guess.
I didn't like it, but I felt like Tim Roth has promise, so it gave me a little bit of hope.
Yeah, and I just they haven't introduced Wong and other characters yet, and I think there's there's a lot to look forward to in this. So yeah, I'm optimistic.
I'm still probably in like 6 out of 10 range. Like I don't hate it. I'm still hoping it gets better, but I am kind of curious, like it being a 9-episode series, like if most of the episodes are going to be around this length. Because this was a short episode. This was like 30 minutes with credits, so probably like the actual episode was like 20 some minutes long.
Right.
Like it went by pretty quickly.
Yeah, Ajay and I were talking about this, but we were also talking about how like their overall story structure that they're doing with like these series is wrong because you've got like 2 or 3 where it's all set up, and basically you're watching a full movie of nothing, and then like you kind of cross your fingers and say like, well, hopefully this finishes out better than it started because it started like shit. But I mean, if you think of something like Breaking Bad, like the first 30 seconds, you were like hooked, and it goes on for season after season after season, and you're just like, you can't stop watching. And so I think they're really missing the ball as far as writing goes in some of those manners.
Yeah, and if it's gonna be this slow, drop the whole series at once. Let us get past those slow episodes and get to the meat of the series.
Well, the structure is wrong. They just need to jump into it and just knock it out episode after episode after episode, because what they're doing right now is it's wrong. It's not smart. It's just got a bad structure.
I gotta say though, is like a murder mystery fan, I wish she was defending, like, I wish there was a murder mystery component to this. Like she was defending like a superpowered person that was accused of murder, but who was like actually innocent and like.
I mean, that could be great. I mean, but what if like for episode 1, you open up on some like, maybe something a bit ambiguous, and you do have like a villain there, and you do have like dead people around, and like you don't necessarily explain it. You have a mystery. Now you've hooked people in. You've got something, you can reference back to backstory. You can build on it. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do there, but they're just not right.
I totally agree. Like if there was a a central mystery to the show, it would hook me in a lot
It
more.
would go a lot further.
I gotta say, like, you told me this and I read it too. So there was like a quote from like the writers of this show where they're like, we realized we weren't really good at writing courtroom drama. And so I'm like, well, okay, I'm not expecting them
where
to,
are you going?
like basically their story is going to be more the stuff that's not in the courtroom. But I'm like, it seems like that the courtroom drama part of it probably isn't all that compelling. And
yeah, that is one of those things I think is a specialty. So if they were going to do it, they probably should have brought in somebody who's good at that particular thing.
let's get some Perry Mason up in this bullshit.
Yeah. Well, who's that author who wrote all those books like The Firm and stuff?
Grisham?
Might have been Grisham. He's one of them. But I mean, there's a handful of people out there who are really good at that stuff. But it's a pretty small pool to draw from, I think.
But yeah, I wish there was some sort of mystery surrounding it.
Whoever wrote My Cousin Vinny.
God, that's a movie I haven't seen in ages.
Man, I couldn't believe Marissa Tomei won an Oscar for that movie. That's wild.
Yeah, like it's a good movie, but yeah, you wouldn't think that'd be the movie she won for, you know.
Yeah.
I do. My favorite scene in that movie, though, is you know how like he keeps moving because he can't get a good night's sleep, and like there's always some noise, and then he's like in that cabin and you hear an owl hoot, and he just comes out and is like shooting.
I thought you were gonna say where he gets put in prison and he just falls straight asleep.
No,
But yeah, there was
the owl part is the one that got me.
straight to shooting.
Guys, any final thoughts on this episode of She-Hulk before we wrap things up?
I just hope that's the end of setting it all up, and now we can get into the real
getting
story.
into something. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe we'll see what the whole mystery behind the abomination is going on here.
I mean, if they got the one guy from Perfect Strangers, do you think we could get some Bronson Pinchot in a later episode? Bring him back.
Cross your fingers. He could be a supervillain.
He could be like a lawyer on the other side or something.
In my country.
My rating for this show is going up.
By the way, remember when you guys promised that if we get to 1,000 subscribers, we'll review each and every episode of Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman?
No, that's one of those
You
things
guys
where
were-
you state it.
No,
like it's not true.
you guys promised. So when that happens, and we can look forward to that because Bronson Pinchot plays the trickster in a couple episodes.
Jesus.
Good for him.
Have you ever thought about taking drugs? Drugs?
When you're high on Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman,
Yeah, that's when you know it's time to
need
take
drugs.
mushrooms. It's time to start loading up on them
I
mushrooms.
mean, no,
son.
because that would only lessen the experience. You're already in a high when you're watching that show.
I saw that Christmas episode, and I'm telling you, I thought I was high.
There's some wacky stuff in that show, but it's all fun. It's all fun. All right, so everybody, what did you think of this episode of She-Hulk? Please comment down below and let us know. By the way, I should have looked it up, but there was a guy who left a positive comment on our She-Hulk episode 1, and he said, "Keep up the good work."
I liked his comments.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, like your comment, good sir."
We appreciate it.
Not enough to write your name down and give you a shout out, but we appreciate it. I think it was like Mr. Lasso or something like that.
I remember it was like, something underscore something. But anyway, please leave your own comments and good or bad, and maybe we'll even read them on the show. Please subscribe both to the YouTube channel and to your podcast service of choice. Like I said, leave us comments, thumbs up, give us positive reviews that help us in the old algorithm, all that good stuff. And why not come over and start a conversation with us on Twitter? Guys, where can people find you on Twitter?
A name for this too, and that's the number 2.
At Unsolicited SUG.
And you can, of course, find me at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. And that is going to do it for all of our shenanigans in Poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Have a good one.